it's Linda from Lányos Handmade, and today we're going to have another Marathon Sewciety sew along for spring. So make sure you watch everybody's videos, because I'm sure you'll come up with all sorts of lovely ideas for things that you can make for yourself or for others. I picked out the Cork and Copper Designs Pennyroyal Pouch Cut Sews because they've got such wonderful prints on them. This one is a purple pansy, and I added a butterfly because butterflies and flowers always go together for me. And put on some flowered hardware. And this one, well, this one's my favorite octopus. But the back of it kind of looks like flowers to me, so I thought I'd pick that one too. Now, I've got two of them because I hacked them. One's going to be hacked with a handle, and the other's going to be hacked with a strap. So I will be popping in and out with blue or purple, blue octopus, purple pansies, and I hope I don't confuse you too much. So how about we just get along and do some sewing? I've got cut and sews today for you. I'm not doing these ones, but just wanted to show you. They come in big sheets of vinyl, and it's pretty good vinyl too. I like it. This is for one of her patterns. I'm sure this is the hex bag, but I love the seahorse on here, and I'm a real fan of this. I think it's called alcohol marble. I don't know. I can't remember. But she also has little labels, handmade labels that you can use that match. And so I don't know if those were for a limited time or whether they're a permanent thing. But I've got a little octopus to match with this one. This one is the Pennyroyal, and this one's a Pennyroyal too. So there's the marble look in here. The marble is my favorite. And the other thing is she has little, very slow fashion, handmade, made with coffee and curse words. Speaking of which, my coffee is empty. So they're pretty easy because you buy the pattern. You don't have to cut out the pattern pieces. You just cut out the vinyl because this pattern piece is already marked on here. And she's also got the tabs. You know how some things have zipper tabs. She's also got those on there. So it's pretty handy. The one we are going to do is the Pennyroyal. I think I saved the label. Yeah, it's a large Pennyroyal pouch from Cork and Copper, just like it says. As you can see, that was cut right from there. So I'm going to start the first part of this. I have some strapping that I want to use up because I can't bring myself to waste anything. I've got my lining and my outer layer, and I want to put on one of my appliques that I've got because I have applique pattern in my shop, and I use it for my cutting machine. I think I've got everything now. I use it for my cutting machine to cut little appliques out. So I'm going to stick an applique on the front of this one, this little butterfly. And I just have to decide somewhere to put it that it doesn't make too much of an impact. Now that's not bad because that way I can still see the flowers. So we'll be putting that on too. I pulled out some extra appliques because I thought I might use them. There's other designs too, but I think I'm going to stick with the butterflies. Now this is the other Pennyroyal pouch I will be making. Everything is pretty much the same. All these things here, that's just her logo. Except I will be putting D-ring tabs on so I can attach a strap that I have made up here. Just stick that through there. I'll tack this down a little bit with the sewing machine, and then later on we can sew it onto our sides. So I'm going to be popping in every now and then, like I said before, and I'll show you what the other option is, this one, as we're sewing along, okay? So I'm going to get my zipper ready because I think that's the first thing we have to do. So we've got our zipper pull. It's got a flower on it, just in time for spring. Although some people are probably still having snow, who knows. One of these ends is kind of crushed, but I'm not sure which end, but we shall see. I might have to just snip a bit off the end. Nope, that worked. There. So when we're using this zipper, this end is going to be bent, so we don't have to do anything to it. This end needs some vinyl on it. I could go this way though. I could even put some of it underneath there. And that works out well. So nobody sees the underside, and I just made it a little bit wider so that my fumbly fingers could get it on there. I'm just going to get some double-sided tape to hold it down. And then I'll fold it over and I'll sew it on. I don't necessarily have to go over top the zipper teeth, but I will go up and around like that maybe, and that will hold it pretty well. So I did sew it down. There's a box there, and this is going to be bent as we sew it onto our top of our pouch. But let's just hold on a second here. I've measured out where to put my inside label and my outside label and my applique. And remember, when you're measuring, don't include the base. That is the base of your pouch. And keep in mind it's going to be folded. So you want to make sure, you know, it's not too far over here on the side. This is okay. I'm happy with this because basically that's what it's going to look like, the front. And that'll be the back. So I'm going to sew these things on, and then after we can start putting the zipper on. Oh, and make sure you've got your markings on that they talk about in the pattern. I have my label. The sewing machine missed a corner. This is for me. I'm going to leave it. This is the back. This is the front. This is the front. On the inside, doesn't have anything on it. And the zipper. I've got the markings there that they want us to use. Now let's put our zipper on first. Now, which way do I want it to pull? This is the front, and I want to pull it this way, so I'm going to put my zipper on this way. They want you to sew it on between the lines that they have marked on the pattern. So I'm going to stick a little clip there. And I'm going to follow along the curve here. And when we get to this marking, we're going to have to bend this. Now, pay attention to which way you bend it, because you don't want it to show too much that it's bent. I mean, it's fine, a little wrinkle, but you don't want a big wrinkle. So I'm going to put that fold on the inside and bend it that way. And then that way, when it's open, it's not as bad. Oop, it's also not on the line, so let's move it over a bit more. That's better. So we're going to sew just the zipper on from here to there. And then after we can do the other side and sew the zipper on between the lines I've marked. You don't really need a center line. It's just happens to be a habit for me to draw it in all the time. But when you're using a certain width from the edge here that you want unsewn, then whatever, the zipper goes right between those lines. So I'm going to sew this side on first, and that will be our front. And our front is going to pull open this way. So we've got one side on. She suggests that you baste it first. I've made so many of these, I don't baste them first. I just sew them right on. Now with this vinyl, it's a little bit stiff, so it's going to take some pressing to get it to stay, right? Just finger press it a little bit, and it's very strong vinyl. So next we can put on this one. I was wondering when I was sewing why I was going so slow, and the reason why is because when I put the applique on, I go the slowest speed my machine can. I don't want it running away on me. So I was wondering why I thought maybe I'd broken something, because my machine was just crawling along my zipper. Now again, keep in mind, you've got your fold put in, and I want it to look the same as this one. And that's not the right spot. Yep, that's good. So I will put that there. And we can sew this other side on now. All right, both sides on. And this is what the outside, thread hanging. Here's what the outside's going to look like. There's the back, and there's the front. Now we just have to put on the extra layer that we've got. And this is my back, and this is my back. My front has the butterfly, my front has nothing. So let's just turn this up this way. That's actually quite helpful to have the center mark there. There, it's all clipped on. Now we're ready to sew our lining on. We've already sewn our exterior layers on, and sew from this edge all the way to that edge. Now that was pretty easy. One edge to the other edge, and when we open it up, it still pops up like usual. Now we're going to clip this down, and we're going to top stitch, but we only top stitch from here to here. First, I'm going to put this side on. And we'll sew from edge to edge. Okay, I sewed from edge to edge. Now I can turn it and see it pops out nicely again. And again, we top stitch, but we only top stitch from, let me just get this here. We only top stitch from here to here and there to there. But of course, I'm going to have to clip that down and smooth it out and finger press it and try and get it to hold still so that it can be nice and flat when I do the top stitching. Okay, so just between here and here and there and there. And you know, if it helps, you can always put some double-sided tape on here just to get it to stick. Or you can put clips at the bottom of it to hold it down. And actually that helps too, because then you can make sure that your lining is the same size as your outer layer, because sometimes when we're sewing or cutting, we get a little sloppy. So I will trim off the part that's not correct after I get the top stitching done. There's another spot, see? We want to make sure the lining and the exterior are sitting exactly the same. Okay, so before we continue, I have sewn from edge to edge, like the pattern said, for sticking the lining on. There and there. And I have top stitched only, like the pattern says, from here to there and from here to there. Now's the point where you think hard about, is there anything we're supposed to be sticking on this that we've missed? We've got our labels. And we've got our, no we don't. Let's put on our D-ring tabs. So I'm just going to line these up here as close as I can get here. I have to remember there's a seam allowance. So I've got to be able to get the seam allowance through. I think it's about that much, but I will measure it just to test it out here, make sure. I'm going to sew both of them on, and I will measure it off camera here because I want to make sure they're both exactly the same. Okay, I think one's got a better angle on the other here, so I'm going to check it all. And we just sew it onto this one layer here. It doesn't matter whether it's the front or back, because when you put it together like this, it's going to get locked in between the two anyway. And that'll stick our D-rings on so that we can do a strap. So I'm going to go put those D-rings on right now. There, done. And both exactly the same. I've measured them. They're basted on there. They'll stay pretty good. Now we've got our zippers in and our top stitching done. And before we go too wild here and sew up this pouch, let's think hard. Are we missing something? I would like to have a small little handle on mine. So if I put something on like this, I could have a little handle here that I could just grab it if I want to pull it out. And I have to decide where I'm going to put it. I think I'm going to just do it like that. This is the back, and I'm attaching it to the back, and I'm just going to slant it a little bit and sew it on like that. So I'm just going to baste it onto this side edge so that when we put the two pieces together, we will have the little handle sticking out on the outside. So I'll just sew that up, and then after we can work on sewing the pouch together. Handle on. Snip this off. I never like cutting it really close. I'm just gonna give it a little 1/2 inch there. Now let's put these pieces together, and we will start sewing the outsides and the insides together. I don't go over this bump, I just leave it, but I will go as close to it as possible. So for this side, I'm going to start here and go down, here and go down, and just across. We're not sewing these corners, the boxed corners. And for this side, we're just sewing from here down and just a little bit in here. We have to leave this open so we can turn it. And if you can't go exactly up close here, you know, don't worry about it. Just go as close as possible. Same with this side too. Just go as close as possible. Okay, so the bottom, the sides, and a little bit of this bottom, but I left that open. I didn't go, as you can see, I didn't go really super close, but it's good enough. I guess we don't need these on anymore. And now I can box the corners here. And then that will make it look like a bag. So I pinched these corners up, lined up the box part of it, and pinned it really well. I have this going in one direction, and of course if you have this going this way, you want that going that way so that it's not as thick on the ends. So the same applies for both sides. On the other side, I've clipped it too, And the same thing, if I have this going this way, I make the sides go the other way. So I'm just going to sew across these 4 points here. And then after that, we can turn our bag. I don't know if my zipper is open. Yep, it is. This is a smaller one, so it's going to be a bit fussy to turn, but, you know, crush the hard part and you'll be able to get it through. I've also trimmed off my zippers and my D-ring tabs for my strap. So I'll just sew these up now and then I'll turn the bag. All right, these are sewn and I trimmed them down. Now let's see if we can turn this. I might end up ripping the little hole open a bit, but I can always sew it shut again. There you go. It's sitting pretty good at the bottom there. And it would be finished, but we have to just sew our lining shut. You can do it by hand if you want, but I'm just going to run it through the sewing machine because it's so dark in there, nobody's going to notice whether it's done with a sewing machine or by hand. So I'm just going to pin this shut and sew it with my sewing machine. Oh, big knot. All right, it's done. Let's push it back inside. Get the corners in the corners. And they're zipped up. Got our D-ring tabs. And I've got my ready-made strap here that I did. For this strap, all I did was have some webbing. And I've got my cutout tabs here. 1 inch on the bottom, wide enough on the top to hide even a large webbing, like a 1.5 inch or something. And that's also from Cork and Copper Designs, the pattern. I've got my fingers like this to point out both corners. And we are done. It's quite a good size. So how'd that go? Make sure you share what you've made with us. I'll leave some links below, places you can share. And I'll leave the link below too for the other sew-alongs for the Marathon Society. I'm going to head over there right now and see who's coming up next. So thank you, Cork and Copper Designs, for your really pretty cut and sews. And thank you to the Marathon Society for letting me join in again. And thank you for watching.